Today is March 8, 2024, 11:56 a.m. We are in Sacramento, California at the Center for Sacramento History. Can you please state your full name and spell it?
Pedro, Pedro, John, John, Hernandez, Hernandez.
Okay,
I'm named after both of my grandparents.
great. Please provide your date of birth.
3/18/47.
Okay, where were you born?
Lincoln, California, at my grandmother's house.
Okay. And what is your marital status?
I am married for 49 years.
Do you have children?
I have two. I have a daughter, which I wanted first, and then I have my daughter works with the state. I can't tell you what she does. And then my son is in Texas, and he's a professional umpire.
All right. So did you want to share something before I get started with the rest of the interview, or?
Yes. I would like to begin with, I was roughly 10 years old. No, 12. I was shot with a gun and died. I would then proceed to go down the tunnel, and I turned left, and then I turned right, and when I got to the end of the tunnel, a lady in black would meet me and say, "It is not your time, go back." I would go back to the original spot I began, but it was different because I was at the corner of the ceiling looking down at myself and my mother that was praying over me. I would then proceed to go back into my body. 3 to 4 days later, I would then awaken. I say this because it would lead me to where I'm at today. Thank you.
Okay, great. So where were you raised?
A little bit in Lincoln. Then my father had quit the railroad here in Sacramento, and we moved. He wanted to become a farm worker, so we would travel Auburn, Yuba City, Marysville, Winters, Modesto, Sacramento, Woodland. And finally my mother said, "Hey, this is enough of moving around. Find a permanent job." And so we would then settle in Slough House, California, and we would still travel from doing tomatoes, grapes, whatever it took. But and when we would proceed to, my father and I would travel to Hood. He was the foreman, and this was the time period when Filipinos and Mexicans didn't communicate. If they picked a field, they would not integrate because they thought we were the ones that conquered them, being Mexican.
So you said your dad worked for the railroad. What was it, the Southern Pacific, or?
Yeah, the one right here in Sacramento.
Yeah, there was two. But okay. And how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I had 4 brothers and 3 sisters. One of them was a correctional officer and ended up in Vietnam before I did. And my younger brother, who would end up in the gangs, Nuestra Familia, and would kill 15 people. My brother Benny went to Vietnam 5 times. I went twice. My sisters didn't see no conflict. They have their own families. My sister Rita died. My brother Rudy died. And my younger brother Arthur died.
Mm-hmm. So all the boys in your family went to Vietnam?
Yes, except for my brother Arthur.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What was the primary language spoken at home when you were a kid?
When I went to school, I couldn't speak English. Plus, my grandmother said, "You want to talk to me? Talk to me in Spanish." Mm-hmm. And so it took a while, but the primary language was English, Spanish and English.
Mm-hmm. And your first experience of going to school was where?
That would be Slough House, California.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell me a little bit about how it was to go to school or what you experienced in Slough House? I'm not very familiar. Is there like a large Mexican community there or?
Yes, there is, because there was fruits, mm-hmm. There was hops, there was cattle, and there was a lot of making bales. So we had our fair share of Latinos. What we didn't have, the whole time that I was in Slough House, we only had 2 black brothers. Mm-hmm. But other than that, and they didn't stick around very long. Mm-hmm. Most of everybody else was either part of the effort to work the fields, or they were the owner's sons. And we would take pride in the fact that we would stay out of school when it began for 2 weeks to bring in the crops.
Mm-hmm. So you were a migrant worker. You were a worker. You mentioned like traveling with your dad. So you worked the crops with your parents. Did they take you out of school, or how did that work?
No, only the 2 weeks before school started, I would stay out of school, and that was normal for that area. That for the kids, it was most. To tell you the truth, it was the best life I ever had.
Mm-hmm. And do you remember how old you were when you first started working? Or was it from the very beginning?
Yes. I learned to drive when I was 10 years old, mm-hmm. to help my father with the trucks. And he was the foreman, and he would make me drive the tractors at a very young age.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and were your siblings also working out in the fields with you?
My brother Rudy, my brother Benny, and that was it.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember experiencing any discrimination when you were a kid?
Of course. I say that because you can begin with, "Hey, you're Mexican. No, you're Mexican American. No, you're Latino, you're Cuban, you're everything else." Mm-hmm. The white folks were always Americans. Even the Native American was never described as American first. And I've always resented that, because, to tell you the truth, it did such a fine job of screwing our minds as to who we are even in Vietnam, we would get the same thing. Okay, he's American, he's black, and what are you? It has always angered me.
Mm-hmm.
Better yet, it pissed me off.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always resented that. And so when I do public speaking, I talk to the kids and explain that to them, that now that we are the dominant culture, we no longer follow, we lead, and you must accept the responsibilities that come with that.
So you said, of course, you were discriminated against. Do you have any examples you can give, maybe that, based on the time and some of the things that you and your peers confronted, maybe in the schoolyard or on the bus? Or do you remember anything specifically? Does anything stand out?
Yes. We were at a store, and I was told, "You're Mexican, go stand outside." Or they would confront me because of the farm worker look I had, "Go stand outside." And somehow the kid, the white kid, he would be in the same attire, but they didn't kick him out. And I could never figure out why are they doing this? This is supposed to be America. I was born here.
Mm-hmm.
And I even resented it when they would talk about my father, who was from Mexico. And somehow I always felt not the real sense of being an American, because it was constantly being thrown in my face. That's why when I joined the service, I changed my name to Pete.
Mm.
Why? Because I got tired of the white folks telling me, "Hey, Perro, hey, Pedro." And I resented that.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that to continue on. It was my way of trying to deal with the situation. Mm-hmm. I learned at a very young age to take something negative and turn it into something positive.
Mm-hmm. So you said your dad was from Mexico. Both your parents were from Mexico?
No, my mother was from Colorado.
Okay, so tell me what part of Mexico your dad was from.
San Luis Potosí.
Okay. And your mom was from Colorado. Was she how many generations? Or is she originally from there? Or?
No, she was from there because my grandparents came from Mexico. They had 15 kids. And when I came into life, there was only about four left. Mm-hmm. But my other aunt would have been 5, but she died.
Yeah.
And the rest of the family.
Mm-hmm. So you're growing up, you go to school, and you learn English.
Yes.
And what was that process like?
I didn't get no help, or I mispronounced a lot of words. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of embarrassing because no matter how hard I tried, I always felt like, be careful what you say, because you may mispronounce the word and somebody will immediately correct you. Mm-hmm. Which I should have said, "Hey, that's a positive thing." But I took it, after being offended so many times, yeah. I became gun shy.
Yeah, the constant criticism, it kind of shut you down.
Yes.
Do you think as a kid you were that feeling made you like more quiet of a person, or do you think you were out? Did you have an outgoing personality? Were you like an introvert, or how would you describe your?
One of the things that happened right away is my older brother, Rudy. Every damn time that the bus would drop us off, a guy by the name of Johnny and him would get out and fist fight right there where we got off and loaded up for the bus. The bus driver enjoyed the shit out of it. But my brother, he held his own. And I've always admired my brother for doing that. But then part of the reason that I became so violent after coming from Vietnam was because my uncle Polly taught us how to fist fight. He was in the Navy, and we always admired him anyway. He was good with his hands, and he was good with the women, and he had just the gentleness about him. But if you ever mess with him, you done picked the wrong person to mess with.
So you're a kid and you're watching your brother Johnny.
No, my brother Rudy.
Rudy get beat up by this boy
No,
named Johnny.
he didn't get beat up.
Or get in a fight.
Get in a fight.
And you're younger. You're a kid.
We're all about 3 years apart.
And what are you thinking as you're watching your brother fight? Like, do you want to go out there and help him, or?
Not so much that. I took more pride in watching what my uncle had taught Rudy. As a matter of fact, when we were in Lincoln at my grandmother's house, where I was born, one day my brother comes running in the house, and my uncle catches him. And he says, "What are you doing?" "Well, I got in a fight." "And? Did you win or lose?" And so then my brother said, "I lost." And so my uncle turned him around. He says, "You leave and don't come back until you settle the score." My brother took off. Next scene, my brother's running through the house, but this time there's a cop behind him. And my grandmother catches the cop with a broom and says, "What are you doing? I raised you as a child. You don't come running in my house." "Well, Miss D'Arcos, your grandson hit this kid with a 2x4. And that was the way we dealt with life. It didn't matter whether we settled it. Bottom line, you don't walk off losing. And that's always been instilled in me. And what's interesting, later on in life, I would do very much so, especially at the university. That's what I'm known for.
Okay, so let's get to high school. When do you graduate from high school?
I went to, actually there's 2 time periods. In 62, I would go for 2 years to Christian Brothers on 21st and Broadway. Best education I ever got. And I learned to fight more there. There was a lot of Latinos from low-income families, but we took pride in being Latinos. We dressed in our Pachuco outfits. We took pride in our culture, and that was always what pulled us together. From there, I would go to Rio Linda, California. I then, on my first day, they said, "Are you coming to the fight?" I go, "What fight?" "I don't know nobody. Why would I want to go see a fight?" And so the guy told me, "You're in it." I go, "What do you mean I'm in it?" He goes, "Yeah." So I got my cousin, I put my brother on the bus because I was more scared of my mom spanking me than I was having to fight. So then I proceeded to pick up 3 brothers, Latinos, and one other one, and I had a 57 Chevy at that time, and we drove to this place called The Click. So we drive there, my cousin Richard, and then as we pull in, there's 200 plus people there. And I took one look and I go, guys, I think we're going to get the shit beat out of us. So then I walked up what must have been the head guy, and I said, okay, I'm here. You asked me to be here. I don't want to be here, but who's this guy you want me to fight? He goes, he's standing right there. I didn't hesitate. I popped him in the face. And then I proceeded to beat the shit out of him in front of 200 people. We got, after the fight, we got back in the car and we left. As we're going home, all of us, this guy pulls up and he has a .457 gun. And he's showing it to me, and he drives up next to us and said, pull over, we want to talk. So we did pull over. This guy said, hey, I have a shotgun in the house. So he ran in to get the shotgun. I've never seen him come out of the house since. Then the guy with the .457 stuck the gun in my face, and he says, I want to talk. I said, go ahead. I'm a good listener. And he says, Danny Sangster wants to fight you again. I go, why would I want to do that? I already beat him up. You want me to beat him some more? The following year, black students, when they began the process of integrating, they moved the people from the blacks from Grant. Now you got to remember, Grant at one time was an all-white school. So the buses pull up, the kids get out, and they're coming up the ramp. And then what proceeds at the senior square, there are 3 guys and Ku Klux Klan jackets, KKK, and the writing on the back. Plus, there are 2 Klans in sheets.
What year is this?
This would have been in 1964.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you're a student at Rio Linda High School, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then at the end of the year, a riot broke out. A lot of white folks got beat up because they weren't going to take it. And I don't blame them.
So were you saying that the African American students are being bused to Rio Linda?
That is correct.
That's what happened in 64. Okay, so then you graduate from high school, or?
Yes.
Okay. And this is what year?
65.
65. And what happens? What do you do?
I then proceed to go to the Navy 3 days after graduating. And I would...
Did you volunteer, or were you...
Yes, I volunteered because I didn't want to end up in on welfare. I didn't want to have a job like mechanics because I hated it. I didn't have the grades to go to college, so I said I've got to find an alternative, and that's when I made the decision of joining the service at the when I was sent to Oakland for the induction. I go, oh my God, what the hell is going on? There was guys in women's underwear. They were trying to get out, obviously. And even in the dorm, the hotel where I slept, in the morning when I went to go get ready to go to the induction, there was a guy questioning me, you really want to go to Vietnam? And I couldn't figure out what the hell he was talking about because I didn't have much to look forward to, and I figured this would be a great escape.
Mm-hmm. So you had a brother already who was in the service, correct?
U.S. Army.
U.S. Army, and he had been in there for how long? When you went in?
He had gotten out just before I went in, and they told him, because he was in Germany on the wall, that he was going home, and they were going to send him home. And my brother got home, and my brother said, you know what? I don't remember seeing this much greenery. So where in the hell did you guys send me? He goes, Vietnam. So after he got out, I went in.
Did your brother tell you to go, or did he try to stop you?
No, my brother and I, no.
Mm-hmm.
We were very much independent of each other.
Okay. So he was in the Army. He was probably a grunt, or was he?
He was a truck driver.
A truck driver. Can you tell us his name?
Rudy. Rudy, he's my half-brother. But we never looked at it, whether quarter or whatever. He was my brother. His last name is Avila. And my brother's father was a Marine in the European War, Second World War. And his name was Rudy Avila.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you go, and why did you choose the Navy?
My Uncle Poli. Mm-hmm. I told you he was a fighter, lover, whatever. He was my hero, role model, plus the fact he didn't take no shit. So I wanted to grow up like him. Mm-hmm. When I was a little kid, he used to punch me in the stomach a lot. I mean, as a small child. You can punch me in the stomach, even now, and it's still very hard. Mm-hmm. The rest of my body is something else, but...
Mm-hmm. So you go in and you're 18 years old, or are you 18?
Exactly.
Okay, 18. Some people go in a little bit earlier, and they're not supposed to. But anyway, and then what happens? Where did they send you after that? You're in Oakland, and then you get sent where?
Let me say this.
Uh-huh.
The number 19 is important. My service number, I won't give it all to you, but it's 119. When I joined the Navy, I was 19th in the squad. After we graduated, we then proceeded to, what ship are you on, man? That one, or that one? And the instructor told me, no, you're not on a ship. I go, well, what am I? He goes, you're going to a squadron. Can you guess the number?
19.
That is right. VP 19 out of Moffett Field. I would then proceed to go to Moffett, and from there they would, before they settled me into a job, I would go to Midway, Hawaii, Midway. It was something I really enjoyed, and I grew up starting to like myself. And then I proceeded to I did maps. My job was to plot pilots' courses on a map. And that's when I learned that the shortest way is not from me straight to him. The shortest way is to go up and around because the world is round, not flat. And so there was two officers that played a major influence. Fitzpatrick, who was Irish, and Xavier, who was Cuban. And they would sit down with me and treat me not like an enlisted with an officer. They would treat me like a brother. This is a white guy and a Cuban. And they'd say, Pedro, you're not stupid, dude. You need to go to college. And I'm going, dang, I didn't do good in school. Don't worry about it. They'll take care of it. And so then I proceeded the next year. I was told I was going to be a mechanic. I've already said to you folks, I hated being a mechanic. I didn't like tearing up my knuckles. I didn't like being a mechanic. So when the pilot of the mechanics, or the officer, I should say, he said, I shot this boat with my rocket, and then I go, I got to get out of this place. I made the comment of, excuse me, sir, but I heard it was already going down. All I heard was get him out of here, and they got me out of there. I love that. Somebody came up to me and said, how would you like to be a radioman? Oh, yeah. And I would become a radioman on a Navy P3 for the rest of my time. Mm-hmm. And I then proceeded to do whatever it took. I'm claustrophobic, but we were in a situation where, in fact, two MiGs were chasing us. Everybody does this, I think. And I go, pilot radio. He goes, what do you want? I got to go get some air. As soon as I said that, I knew I had screwed up. So then I proceeded I could hear the other crew members laughing at me. But it is what it is. So then when we returned home, or back to the base, the pilot was the last one to get out besides me. And he says, Pedro, I go, yes, sir. You're not the only one that wanted to go outside and get some air. So again, I started to feel better about myself and started to realize I shouldn't be so negative on myself.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you didn't get to go to Vietnam, it sounds like.
No, I did.
Okay.
That's where I wanted. That's why this hat is important. If you notice, it says Korea. And if you notice, it says Vietnam. And if you notice, it says, it doesn't say, it has 3 stars. That's for my brother and I. My brothers and I. And I'll explain the rest. The reason Korea's on there, when the Pueblo was taken, we were sent to Japan. At that time, we were setting up for perhaps a nuclear war with Korea, North Korea. We would carry nukes. We would carry rockets.
Mm-hmm. On the ship, you mean?
No, on the aircraft. Mm. The aircraft was too big to land. That's a Navy P3. Mm-hmm. And so it was too big to land on an aircraft carrier. So we were based on a land base. And later on, we would take out spy boat from North Korea. And the spy boat looks like a regular ship, but it's traveling so fast. It has this thing called a rooster tail. That means water splashing over, and it looks like a rooster. We would then come down and blow it out of the water, and then we were left with watching dead bodies. There was times where I would call in an Air Force Phantom to take them out. So, plus, we work with the CIA, and you're saying, prove it. Well, not a problem. That's why I enjoyed what we did. I was told, do you see that guy sitting over there? I go, yeah, that guy right there. He goes, he's not there. He looks like he's there. He goes, he's not there. You sure? He goes, yes. You don't talk to him. You don't say nothing. You don't ask questions. He's not there. Do you see that guy sitting over? I don't see shit. And we would transport them to Nam. Yes, I've been in Nam. And we also killed in Nam. So
how you were sent to? I'm just trying to get it all straight. How long were you in the service?
3 years.
Okay. And were you sent home in between, or?
My mother died. I was 19 years old.
Sorry. Yeah.
And I was sent home because she had left my brother Benny, Arthur, Rita, Christina, Rachel. So at that time I had gotten married, and I had to go home and figure out what the heck am I going to do now? That's why I didn't do 4 years. I did 3 years because I got out in a hardship discharge to take care of my brothers and sisters.
So you got married when? I don't know. Like before you left to the service? Before you?
No, after.
After.
Yeah. About basically almost 2 years after.
And you met your wife where?
You know, that's a good question. Shit. I think it was at a dance in Palm Grove, I think. Yeah.
And you get married, so you said, so you would be 20, around 20 when you got married. And then your mom passed away sometime in between that.
Yes.
After you got married.
In between 19 and 20.
Yeah. And so you come home, and what's that like, the readjustment period?
I'm going to say something to you. You may not like it. I didn't like it. I had told I was flying something like 168 hours a month. There are times that I don't even remember getting on the plane, but my body knew what I was supposed to do as a radioman. My wife at that time told my sister to wake me up. I had just gotten back one day. I didn't realize I was that paranoid, or I knew something was wrong, because as soon as my sister touched me, I went off and punched her. You got to remember, she's only 5 years old. Yeah, I died that day. So when I talk to people, I tell them I died in 68. You got to remember, a lot of shit is going on between war and myself and my mental status.
Yeah.
I came home in 68, And they said, well, you can either wait for the commercial aircraft, but I don't know when it's coming. So I said, well, is there another alternative so I can go home? He goes, you can take that aircraft over there, the coffin run. I go, coffin run? Yeah, it doesn't matter. It gets me home. So when I walked up to the plane with 7 other sailors, the first thing I did was I looked in. I didn't see much there straight ahead, but as soon as I turned my head to the right, 3 stories high, and as far as you could see, were 350 American soldiers dead.
Dead bodies.
In a casket.
Yeah.
That played on my mind. I took my duffel bag, threw it on the seat, and I slept for 17 hours. All of this has left me with the, why am I alive? Why am I not 351? Now, I told you in the beginning that I had died, okay? And I'll tell you this much. Death is nothing to be feared. As a matter of fact, I kind of look forward to it because it makes me feel I'm not afraid. It's not cold. It's not like in the movies. It's whatever. Yes, it's something to look forward to. So, but when I was about 12 or less, I had gone to my mother because we were even on the farm. We would receive catechism on Thursdays at this one ranch by the priest, and I told my mother at that time, Mom, I want to be a priest. You know what she told me? She said, no. I go, what do you mean, no? That's a high thing in our culture. You're not going to be a priest. I go, why? You have another calling. This goes back to what mothers see that we don't see. And so, therefore, that dream got blown out. And she told me that later in life I would understand what she was talking about. Today, I'm a historian. Today, I understand why she said what she said. And everything that has happened since I got out of the service,
Yeah.
You recognize him?
Well, I know this picture because we did the flyer. I don't know which one you are. I'm guessing maybe this one?
No, that's Danny's, a Marine.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know which one you are.
I'll give you a hint. He sat at the right hand of God. That is me.
Okay.
When I said I came back broken.
Yeah.
And,
so, yeah.
And when I say I came back broken, when I told you that was what I was known for, I would fist fight a lot. I had a lot of anger, frustration. I felt my country had screwed us over. McNamara sold us, and we were just bodies. We weren't anything else.
Yeah.
It didn't matter how many of us died. But it was Cesar Chavez who's in this picture.
Yeah.
Jose Montoya and Esteban Villa said, dude, you fight a lot. We want you to come and meet this guy that's nonviolent. I go, what the shit is he going to do? I go, I like what I'm doing. I like fighting. he's nonviolent. I go, what's that going to do for me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I first met him, I asked Jose and Esteban, I go, okay, I'm here because you wanted me to be here. Where's this guy you want me to meet? He goes, he's standing right behind you. So I turned around. I didn't see him at first, but when I did see him, just like that light blue that's on your bottle,
Mm-hmm.
an aura appeared around his whole body.
Mm-hmm.
And when he spoke to me, I even said to myself when I seen the aura, I go, shit, this guy's not from this planet.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he spoke to me, he made me feel warm and comfortable. Mm-hmm. And the reason I just unbuttoned my shirt, because it makes my hair on my arm stand up every time I tell the story.
Yeah. But we don't know how you got to Sac State. When did you get to Sac State?
Remember the two officers?
Yes.
In
So you get back from the Army.
Navy.
From the Navy, I'm so sorry. You get back from the Navy and you have to take care of your siblings. And
as a matter of fact, I worked across the street at the cannery.
okay. So you come back and you work in the cannery?
Mm-hmm.
Or when do you make the shift to Sac State?
My intention was to fulfill the mandate by Fitzpatrick and Xavier to go to school, get an education. Mm-hmm. Well, I later learned that I wasn't ready for it. Mm-hmm. And so I would end up flunking out of junior college. Mm-hmm. I said, well, there goes that dream. But then Sac State, prior to me leaving American River, said, come to Sac State. And I go, I just flunked out. They go, it doesn't matter. Come to the EO program. Wherever you're weak,
they'll help you.
They'll help me.
Yeah, EOP you mean, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening, I went from F to A's and B's. That's how great that program was.
Mm-hmm. What year is this?
Let's see. In the 70s.
Must have been like 70, 71, because I think
yes.
EOP started around that time.
Yeah, Elena Caro was the director.
Uh-huh. Were you part of the Mexican American Education Project?
No, that was another separate. Those are apples and oranges.
Yeah, that's
the guy that's supposed to be here tomorrow, Richard Soto. Was in that project. Okay. He is a Vietnam vet. He participated. He is Chicana history. He's in Stockton.
Yeah, I've been to his spot. So let's so you're at Sac State and you start having babies at this time, or when did the babies come?
Because my first wife and I got divorced.
Oh, I see.
Because one day she told me, Pedro, I go, yeah. When you left to go to Vietnam, you were Pedro. And when you came back, I don't know who in the hell you are. Mm-hmm. It made sense to me. Mm-hmm. And I left. Mm-hmm. And so Vietnam still plays with my mind. Yeah. That's why I go to Mather for PTSD training. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm fighting. I don't necessarily care for the 100%. What I do care about is I need help. I told the people when I got to the VA, I'm busted. I need help. Mm-hmm. Thing about counseling, it doesn't work unless you admit it. Mm-hmm. And as far as Vietnam goes, yeah, I've killed. Mm-hmm. And I have to deal with that. The worst thing about it, even after I got married with my wife from Sac State, the sad thing about being a Vietnam veteran, I don't share my personal feelings. I have a real hard time. But if I'm with another veteran, I don't have a problem. Neither do other veterans. I've had so many times, even when I started working with the state, where I had to go meet with a woman, a wife, or another woman and a wife. Or I was a director of a counseling service for drugs. I've had to explain to the wife, I understand your husband killed himself with a gun. Listen, it's not your fault. It started long before you married him. And so I take that skill that I have and I try to ease the problem.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, you're kind of
Yes.
going out of sequence, so I'm trying to just pull you back a little bit. So you go to Sac State, you graduate, and then you do what? You work. I heard you say you were the director of a drug and alcohol use or something program.
Yes.
What was the name of that program?
Consejos.
Consejos. Okay. And when did you start working for them?
It would have been 1974.
So through your experience in consejos, in counseling, you were talking about the wives, you start to maybe self-reflect in that moment, right? If the pain and everything that needed to. So do you think that serving in that role maybe helped you sort of deal with what you were, the aftermath of being in Vietnam? Do you think that helped you? Like, what do you think? Did it click then, or am I making that up?
No, you're correct. See, what ended up happening, a lot of my Vietnam schoolmates, there was a lot of Vietnam Latinos going to school, and they were ODing it. And it bothered me so much, I wanted to know why. That's why I selected to get a job with substance abuse. I wanted answers. And in doing that, I was also seeking answers for myself. See, like I can use cocaine, but for you, it would be addicting. For me, it's not, because I'm ADD and dyslexic. To me, it just makes me normal. Yeah, that didn't last long, but.
So take me to the rest of your career. Where did you retire from? And
I retired from the Department of Health after 28 years.
that's the California state work. You got into like a state worker through the Department of Health.
Right. So, but prior to that, when I first started, when I first got back, I didn't want to do anything with veterans organizations. I didn't even want to talk about it. I don't want to participate. Just leave me alone. It was a Silver Star recipient by the name of Steve Rivera who said, Pedro, come and help me with the El Soldado Memorial. And I said, Steve, I just want to be left alone. I don't want nothing to do with veterans. I don't want to do anything. I knew something was wrong, and being around them at that time would not help me. And Steve said, it's not about you, dude. It's about the guys that died. And this is where I get to this. when people ask me about the hat, I then proceed to tell them about the 350 dead, as I told you before, where their voice we must keep in the same manner that the mothers gave us El Soldado. That's how we keep it alive. Like, the memorial is here, but behind it is the mother's
Yeah.
but there's a rose garden there.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, and there's 2 walkways. And the reason for that, we spent $450,000 cleaning up that memorial through the governor's committee. And I was appointed historian at that time. So the mothers are part of it. The only memorial for Latinos in all 50 states on Capitol grounds. The Mothers Memorial here, the only one in 50 states on Capitol ground. And there's 2 walkways that lead to the memorial. The reason for that, because they've already given their sons who died, you must go through the mother's arms in order to see the sons.
Yeah.
And on the statue are the 63 Medal of Honor recipients, all the way back to Lincoln's time, when he was the one that came up with the Medal of Honor. The first one was a sailor. The first one was from Spain. So we take great pride.
You're talking about El Soldado, which is a World War II statue of a Mexican American here, and it was memorialized by Las Madres Mexicanas de Guerra in the 60s, and now it used to sit in front of the Mexican Center, but it was moved to now the state capitol grounds.
Right.
I just wanted to bring that into the...
Yeah, but
to the
we're
video.
also looking at changing the name. It should not be Mexican American, because on the 63 Medal of Honor recipients, Mexicanos, Mexican Americans, Tejanos, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, South America. When the mothers did this, nowhere will you see the name Mexican American. That came later. And it does an injustice to those Cubans, Puerto Ricans, South Americans who have... And even when Mexico sent Squadron 201, it does an injustice to them, because as much as they don't want us here, we represent a great economy boost to this country.
Yeah. So we're almost out of time, so I want to make sure that if there was any advice you could give to someone who was going to enlist, what advice would you give them?
I just got through with my grandson. He joined the Coast Guard. And I can tell by his manners, it wasn't as bad as when I went in. I would see my fellow sailors being thrown through glass, beaten up, and they even had a thing, if you screwed up, you'd go to the bathroom, stick your head in the toilet and said, "I will not talk to the monkey, I will not talk to the monkey." And that went on for several minutes. And then they would say, "Aten hot." Well, the blood's all in your head, so when you stand up, you're going to go over and pass out. That doesn't happen anymore. It's safe to go into the service now. My grandson, I take great pride. Another young man who we call our son, who's black, we went to his graduation. And when we went to his graduation, I flashed. one of the things that I haven't told you is that I have a lot of nightmares.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that'll happen this time around with the young people that are going in. And so I'm saying, yeah, you don't have to worry as much because they're not beating us or beating you guys.
Mm-hmm.
They're not traumatizing us like we did.
Mm-hmm.
We were, I should say. And so if you're a young man, go do what you got to do. Go see, go experience the rest of the world because you will appreciate your own country even more when you see how other people live and you realize, wow, we don't have it as bad as we think. Now you have Trump who's talking about dictatorship, communism, Putin, the North Korean guy, and China. I took an oath. You took an oath. You took an oath. You took an oath. That oath is to protect and defend this nation against foreign and domestic. Should that idiot decide to be a dictator or try to sell our country down the road, you're going to have to deal with me and a lot of other people that don't, because we've seen how other people in other countries live. We will fight back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Pedro, for your time. Is there anything else that you want to say that you didn't get a chance to say?
There's so much more.
Yeah, I know.
But I tell you, now that I'm going to the VA, my cousin Juanishi, who was part of the Royal Chicano Air Force, in that Royal Chicano Air Force Jeep, have you ever seen that?
Yes, I have. Mm-hmm.
I'm the driver. And all the time that I've spent, I'm 70-something, 76, 77, and I've spent all of that time fist fighting because of what they did to my mind in Vietnam and prior to me going to Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame anybody except myself for allowing them, because today I say, if you're here to talk to me, fine. But if you're here to mess with my mind, that ain't going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate what you're doing historically. I appreciate the idea to be part of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I have different pictures of war. I have different pictures of being helped by Cesar Chavez. I enjoyed what I love about what you're doing, what I love about what I'm doing, what Tim is doing, and a lot of other Latinos and Latinas. We aren't part of history. Just like we used to say in the UFW. We are making history. The largest number of Latinos in the university system, the largest graduation of young people, we are fulfilling that dream. And I thank you. God bless you. Take care.
All right. We'll stop there. Thank you.